We are live, Dan.
Okay, thanks, Arthur. Okay, so good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining this, our next of our webinars, focusing on youth cricket. It's our pleasure to welcome Anthony McGrath and Barry Heim to help us out around the discussion at this point. Like our other webinars, it's a 30-minute sort of just a thought-provoking, giving you one or two ideas around youth cricket. Our fan, as you've heard, is available and will be overseeing the chat box. Well, the way this works is please feel free to ask any questions through that point. Our fan will then collate them at the end and ask 2 or 3 questions back. Any other questions that we don't answer directly today because of time-wise, we will answer individually and add to the slides that will go on the website following the webinar as we go through. So overview for tonight is obviously just to say to youth cricket. We're also joined as our key partners by Rob Jones at Suffolk, Ben Wallace from Cambridgeshire, and we've also got Cricket East Sam, who will be joining us a bit later, and Ian Fletcher from Hertfordshire sends his apologies, but obviously they're key partners to our whole youth programme and supporting in terms of the messages we're looking for as we go through. Obviously youth cricket is a broad area and it's a wide focus, but what we're going to focus on tonight is how we create that environment and that culture of excitement and learning for the players as they go through. So I'll give a bit of background at the club level and through. Barry will follow up then with the key principles leading into our pathway in our academy, and then Anthony will follow up at the end with how he's created a culture and environment for the players at Essex Cricket and how we see that can revolve all the way down through the system. So cricket at Essex and I think it's basically give you a bit of background around our structure. We have a youth participation group now that's made up of representatives from the 5 regional cricket participation groups around Essex. It also links in the Havering group. Steve Wicks, who links in with Essex Schools Cricket Association, and then our pathway programme for our boys and our girls. And we have two directors in Colin Perkins and Jason Gallion that sort of oversee and support us around our youth cricket. Also linking into that is obviously our regional programme now for the boys and the girls. And you would have seen yesterday the news that our new regional director of women's cricket, Danny Warren, is appointed now, that will be supporting the programme for girls cricket. And obviously ability cricket is a key part for us now. We're running 4 county sides at ability level. So when we say the pathway, the things we're looking around this environment and culture is very much around creating those opportunities for all to enjoy their youth cricket. You'll see on the side, our Eagle's Nest has sort of become our name in terms of growing and developing our juniors as they come through. And a key part of that is obviously around the characteristics of those players and looking at how you can set that up within your club, developing those players around their mental, their physical, their technical and their tactical. And very much we're key around developing that games-based learning throughout the programme. And you'll see through the pathway bit underneath, we develop that into 3 stages around developing the players using national programmes like the All-Stars and Dynamos, but also the mini match play and festivals that run so successfully, quick cricket in schools and so on, up through the assessment stage, which starts to bring into the junior EPP and the programme and development, which you'll hear a bit more about from Barry, and then up into that trial and that explore sort of stage as they start getting into senior cricket, our development programmes, and then hopefully progressing into second and first team cricket or national county cricket, whichever requires their programme. I'm sure most of you have been aware over the last couple of years, and we started the process 3 or 4 years ago around adjusting pitches and the lengths around that size to create those real life experiences for those kids who want to replicate what they're seeing, whether it's Simon Harmer to Alistair Cook to Ryan Tenderscar to Maddie Villiers, in terms of actually being able to replicate that. And we're creating those smaller pitch environments allows those kids to be able to do that, from hitting boundaries to scoring runs and creating. And it's our role in that club environment to start to get those kids to enjoy that experience they go through. That was built up, and some of you might have seen this through the studies that Loughborough University did with ECB, following on in terms of the outcomes that come through that. The opportunity, like you say, nearly 40% more chance of running between the wickets was increased, 56% more chance of shots were being played straighter and having better outcomes around those points, and a 15% increase in playable deliveries that came from being able to adjust those pitches. So a key bit the whole time is around our cultural environments. How do we create those games-based and those environments that encourage those kids to get the best experience and replicate those environments as they learn, as they come through. As we say, games-based to us and competition is a real key part of that player and those kids' development process. How do we create those environments and those problems and those challenges that allow those kids to really sort of get exposure to what games are and understand what playing games is? So yes, we want to develop their skills, and that's a key part of it, but actually are they getting used to putting them into practice in match day environments so they can understand and take on the challenge and the unique challenge of trying to solve a game of cricket as an individual, but collectively within their team. And the posters we have on the screen are easily to be shared with you as clubs. We have them that we can send out to you as clubs, and obviously they'll be on the slides afterwards. But they just help the kids to sort of focus in on what really we think can help them develop as that young cricketer coming through from an animal instinct into the field, to that joy of scoring boundaries, to that consistency of holding line and length and understanding how that will help them in a game as they move through and come forward. Why the game-based learning situation? Well, it gives them that opportunity to stimulate and excite them within that environment and those learnings. The slide on the left here breaks it down into the stimulations, the learning, and the games themselves, and actually how do you create those practices. And your entertainment games would have been the sort of things you would have done at school, and you'll see kids doing at school where they have computers now to actually play games and simplify things that educate the players as they're going through, as well as games practicing. And that point through to the stimulation games that we'll see with a computer. And why does a kid, and if you've seen younger kids that are very addicted to Fortnite at the moment, what makes them addicted to that program, and how can we use that in our coaching to actually encourage those kids to carry on wanting to come back to our clubs and through that point. And sim things in the stimulation is actually getting those problems and those challenges available for those kids to sort of learn from and see how that reacts to a real life situation from a game space. So I'm just going to hopefully technology will work here and change screens for you a second. Let me know when that's come up. Come up, Arpan? Yeah. Yeah. So here's an example. It takes a computer game and turns it into a cricket skill activity. You'll notice as it goes through, as the participant has success, they then actually get the chance to go to the next level or opportunity to power up. It's a very short video, and some of you might have seen it. But it's the kind of stimulations that we can put in place in our practices, which are encouraging the kids to sort of really enjoy their cricket. Okay, so as you saw in that clip, again, it's just a fun, exciting thing, but it takes out the element of cricket catching, as we all know, and puts in an element of a problem solving in terms of the colour balls. But then as the player was getting more successful, it rewarded that and recognised that feedback. So looking at the slide on the right, it was a motivation because it became fun and enjoyable, and they wanted to take on the challenge. They were constantly getting feedback in terms of how they were catching the ball, and obviously from a coach point. There was reinforcement in terms of their strength, in terms of muscle memory, in terms of what they were doing well to achieve success in that point. And actually the practice was enjoyable, so they wanted to keep coming back to that point. And then if we can take those kind of games and problems and create them back into games-based learning from that, and create that environment that actually, as those kids progress through that pathway as we're talking about, they're then able to achieve success and understand what their role is in terms of winning the game as we move forward. So just an overview in terms of, like I say, the philosophy and culture we're looking through. Can we create an environment that's player-centered, that excites, engages and enhances those kids through that program? Can we get those small problems and challenges that are attractive to come through and is constantly challenging our kids to develop and get better? Think about our whole sessions. Don't be afraid to put some chaos in. Actually, some of the best learning, and this is quite popular in other team sports, is actually it looks a bit chaotic and it looks a bit dramatic. And those that have been coaching All-Stars will probably say that when they get 30 or 40, or if not more, 5 and 6, 7-year-olds turning up to their session. It looks a little bit chaotic, but you actually soon realise there's quite a lot of learning that's taking place in that environment. And actually, how do we create that within, obviously in a safe manner, but actually allow our kids to really explore and make mistakes. Don't be afraid to have them to make mistakes or fail, so they can progress from that point. Really, our role is to make sure that from that point it is an environment of culture and positivity. And there's some great examples, those that have signed up on iCoach, where you can get some examples of how other coaches are using sessions to develop that coming through. Multi-sports is real key in terms of creating that athlete. How do we make sure they're encouraging to learn exactly how their athlete movement and development goes from that point, and creating that athlete that can really then successfully enjoy the game and be able to develop those skills as we move forward and really want to come back playing cricket. So just some examples, there's some great examples going on at the moment in terms of how we can activate that currently, as well as thinking into the future when we're actually able to get back down our clubs and enjoy. So I know there's 3 or 4 clubs that are following Upminster's League this week in terms of having online sessions with the coach leading, activating the parents and the kids, and you can see some examples there at the top around the whole club still being actively involved and looking at their little sessions. Then breaking it down into our small part sessions. You've seen the video shown today, and there's some great examples online around actually just getting little stations and activities that kids can still develop and take forward and then bring back to your club. And then finally, the whole bit, can we get 2 or 3 clubs maybe working together, or within your club having some kind of competition, little challenge that takes on a leaderboard. There's an example here that took place in East London with 9 or 10 clubs just sort of doing a weekly competition and activating that way. So the kids still got that enjoyment of competing, and we're also getting some real feedback and reward around their points as they come through. So that's the wrap up for the bottom bit, really just starting to think about how you can set your environment and your culture up at your club that encourages those kids to really enjoy playing cricket, and how we create that positivity and feedback in terms of getting them to understand the decisions they make in the game that will help them to progress. So I'll move on to Barry now.
Evening, everyone. Yeah, thanks for that, Dan. Yeah, so Dan's asked me to kind of put together some information that we use around kind of player development and kind of linking into our key principles. So I'll try and give kind of a brief summary of our kind of pathway, competition strategy, touch on our key principles, and maybe if we get a bit of time, talk about kind of our training program slightly. Most of these areas are kind of interlinked and cross over to kind of build up the whole program, along with some other areas and bits that kind of come into it as well. I suppose as we all know that kind of player development is pretty complicated and a rocky road for many players, and people kind of develop it and come in and out of the programs at different times. So we try and stay as open as we can and try and take those things into consideration when designing our programs a bit. But I suppose the first thing we need to know is kind of what our objectives are, really. So for us, as an academy group, it's kind of identifying and developing players that are equipped to perform for Essex and potentially England if they go that far. Bit wordy this one, but kind of developing the most skillful, tactically astute and athletic, mentally robust players that can cope with the demands of professional cricket. So that's given them all the tools they need to survive and succeed in professional cricket. A little bit on kind of what Dan was talking about, developing highly skilled match winners, about game-based stuff and problem solving, but also with some, I suppose, team-first behaviours behind that as well. So individual brilliance alongside kind of that team-first stuff. And especially around our academy group, providing kind of a level of support if cricket isn't the career that they choose or they're quite good enough for. So having a mentoring program to kind of support their pathway out to cricket if they don't make it right the way through up into professional ranks. So I suppose just important to kind of reflect back on those kind of as we go through. Again, just to give a brief update on our kind of pathway. Our pathway's not kind of that straightforward anymore. It's quite complicated. We've gone away from kind of the original sort of pyramid at the bottom and getting under nines and progress through. It's kind of designed a bit more now to allow players to come in and out of programs and hopefully not miss out on a kind of potential late developers. But I suppose there are kind of three key blocks that we see our program in, that kind of under 9s to 12s group, which we want to kind of ID develop as many players as we can within that group, so we can make a real good kind of informed decision around that sort of 13s age group when we sort of start to filter down into, I suppose, more sort of a specific and more of a county team, so we kind of filter down into that. Secondly is kind of that 13s to 15s group, so we're looking for players who can hopefully progress onto our emerging players program, which leads into kind of that under 15s to 18 group, which is more focused on getting players onto our academy program, which they're kind of identified as having the potential to progress into professional cricket, and that's the main focus about developing those lads within that program. I suppose one area that we've been keen to kind of really push in the past few years and had an element of success with the likes of, I suppose, Jamie Porter, Paul Walter, Nick Brown, and those kind of guys is kind of keep an eye on kind of late developers, and we do that through scouting program that we've got with John Childs and also kind of our development squad that Arfan and Dan have both been involved in, that playing kind of the East Anglia competition. So kind of, Dan, if you just move back to that competition strategy. That's it, thanks Dan. So this is our competition strategy. So this is just understanding kind of what cricket we want the lads playing. For us, we kind of work from the top down. So we look at what Mags is doing, what the first class stuff is doing, and then kind of filter that back down to kind of see and hopefully meet the needs of each age group specific. I suppose to give a bit of an example of that would be if we pick our under 13 squad, for example, and say, what does T20 cricket look like for an under 13 team? If we try and play 20 over cricket with our under 13, it's not necessarily played at the right tempo and developing the right skills what we wanted. So we decided to kind of almost cut it in half and play sort of 10 over games, where they're more likely to show the skills needed and be pushed into having to play at the right tempo. And kind of on the other side of that, around championship cricket, we'll probably be looking at maybe to look to try and develop and bring back some old school time games, and also sort of around that APP group looking to play more 2-day cricket, just to start to kind of develop and get an understanding of batsmen being able to kind of bat long periods and bat a long time, and bowlers understanding patience and how to bowl teams out, which we can't necessarily get and have just through sort of 50 over, 40 over cricket. So to have that kind of variance of the formats, I think is really important for us, so we can develop as many to kind of give them the tools that they kind of need for the future. As Dan mentioned, we're going to kind of discuss a little bit about our key principles. Won't have time to kind of go through each area, but I suppose we put the document together as a bit of a reference point to see what we're looking for in players. Certainly looking to progress through to professional cricket. Obviously outlines all disciplines there, from fast bowling, spin bowling, batting, fielding, keeping, alongside some sort of character traits, physicality, and some personal development areas as well. So I don't want to go through each area and cover off each area, but just to give you a bit of a snapshot to kind of understand what we're looking for. So I picked out just the fast bowling principles. So things that we are looking for in the fast ball. So we're looking for bowlers to be wicket takers, have the potential to bowl with genuine pace, have exceptional control of areas they're looking to bowl, generate excessive bounce and move the ball late through the air or off the pitch or both, and be effective in 3 different formats. So to kind of how we use those was And we try and sort of use those to kind of help players identify their strengths and weaknesses. To give you, I suppose, a bit of an example and bring it to life a little bit, if we pick an academy roller, the one I think about within his age group is a wicket taker, bowls with pace for his age group, but maybe not quick enough at professional level. Has good pace, but certainly not kind of Jofra Archer pace or anything like that. But does move the ball in the air and off the pitch. So there are his strengths. The things that he's looking to develop would be the control of the areas he's looking to bowl, which then hopefully will go on to make him more effective in championship cricket and then cover off kind of more all formats. So as you can see, that kind of, we use that to kind of help shape like players' personal development plan. And from that, there are kind of some common themes that go throughout the principles as well, which help us kind of shape kind of whole program stuff that meets the needs of not only the individual but also group training as well that we use this for. So it's about kind of just producing kind of programs, but also allowing players to kind of understand what they need to do for the next level. Just to move on to briefly onto kind of program wise, it can be really difficult to squeeze all of this into a coaching program, whether it be a 2-hour a week session or for us as an academy, we have the luxury of a little bit more time. But even then, it's really difficult to kind of squeeze all these elements into kind of a weekly program. So I've kind of just picked out a few areas that I think we are good at as a county age group, but also club cricket and school cricket I think we're really good at, and then come on to some areas that I think we can improve in. So for example, I think across the county that we deliver some really good kind of net session based training, so that combat stuff, batting and bowling against each peers, which is absolutely crucial for player development. I think that's really important. Really good at kind of group fielding sessions, running exciting games and training with large groups. Some like the rotations that people have through kind of batting and bowling and fielding rotations, whether they be half-hour, 20-minute rotations. I think that's delivered really well. That in combination with sort of a quality match program and lots of good youth matches and competitions going on, I think we're in a real good place then. And that, for me, I think a lot of lads are really kind of excited and still enthused about the coaching that's going on out there. Just to touch on some areas which I think we could improve, which help improve player development at all levels. It can be tough, and I think we have to maybe think quite creatively about kind of the timings and group sizes. For me, certainly towards the later stages of development, kind of can we challenge the lads with more one-to-one small group sessions where we can really work on individual needs of players. During some of the younger sessions, how can lads hit, catch, bowl a lot more rather than kind of waiting around in their turn to bowl or bat, spending a lot of time in the field or waiting their turn on a drill? Can we have more kind of bat in hand and ball in hand sessions for players? As Dan touched on slightly with the training, can we have more sort of scenario training to really develop that decision making, tactics and game awareness stuff that some players are missing? Again, just to touch on the one-to-one stuff again, developing technique, that kind of mastery of technique to really give the lads a real strong foundation in what they need to go on to be successful, whether it be shorter format or longer format. You really need a strong base and to kind of work from. Also helping the lads understand what they need at the next level, and as we touched on, that match program. So bit of a kind of a whistle-stop tour, but I hope that kind of gives you a bit of an insight on what we're trying to do as a program and kind of give you an understanding and help you maybe shape some of your training programs as we get back into action. Just to say that a lot of this can't be done without the quality coaching staff that we've got within the programs. Most of them part-time volunteers, and they all do a cracking job in in supporting and player development and delivering these programs for us.
Thanks, Barry. And again, just to remember, there is the chat box. You want to put points in. Again, so we'll do a few questions at the end, not too many, and we'll follow up with others. But obviously, we are available at any point if you need to contact through. Just want to reinforce again that this is a philosophy and the values that are going right through for our boys program, our women and girls program, and also the ability program as well. So it's part of that. But just to round it off and finish off, as I said, we're very fortunate that Mags has joined us tonight. So he's just going to take us through now how you, again, at that club might be able to create that environment, excuse me, and culture. Obviously, it's been so successful for Essex. And as Barry says, that starts with you guys right at the bottom, helping us to move right up through to the top. So thanks, Mags.
No problem. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Thanks, Dan and Baz. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, as Dan mentioned, I'm just going to run through kind of the things we do at professional level with the environment and culture. You've seen a lot of detail there and heard a lot from Barry and Dan, and it's absolutely essential for when the lads get to professional cricket that they've had that journey exposure. And a lot of the things that we're talking about. And I think you've probably seen in the last few years the amount of local Essex-born players who've come from the system and through the leagues have been imperative to our success. And I think that the last game at Taunton, if I'm not mistaken, 8 or 9 of the guys came through the system or leagues, which is a huge feather in the cap for everyone associated with Essex and junior cricket. But I think when they get up to us, I think my brief is to produce and keep producing Essex players, but people who can go on and play for England, but also to win trophies. So to do that, you need a good environment and a good culture. In my opinion, I think it needs to be effective and sustainable. And what I mean by that is that everyone can achieve that. Everyone can buy into it, because you're dealing with not only 22 contracted players, you've got overseas guys, you've got academy guys who dip in and out, but also the coaches. And within that, you've got different characters. So a rigid environment is not going to work for everyone. You've got to try and find out what makes people tick, what makes them work. And we've talked about from 11, 12-year-old, it's got to be fun. That's the reason why everyone started playing. But even though now it's a job and it's a profession, it still needs to be fun. So people need to enjoy coming into work each day. An environment where people can learn and also be challenged, and put their own style in it as well. I think sometimes, when you come through an academy or a program or a league, from a league club, you think that you have to fit into a certain thing. But I think the great thing we have at Essex is that, people with different ideas, different techniques, different methods are applauded, and it's about fitting into a team. Also improving as a player, but also improving as a person. So there's a hell of a lot of work going behind the scenes. Barry talked about it as, the player development, but working with psychologists, getting the guys to work in the off season, get some other things that can concentrate on, not just cricket, so they're a more rounded person when they leave our program. I think the environment is broken into a couple of things. The players, firstly, I think the environment and culture depends a lot on the players you've got. I think to build a culture, not really allowing for the particular players you've got can be a mistake. So really think about what players you've got, what characters you've got, and what kind of program or sessions that are going to work best for them. Use your better players. For instance, we've got Alistair Cook, as you know, Peter Siddles, Simon Harmer. They've achieved so much in the game, not just in county cricket, internationally. So when your young players are coming in, they're someone who you want to use a lot. It's not just about using your coaches, using your best players, to help and learn from is really important. I think making good decisions is so important for players on and off the pitch. You don't want the coach telling guys what to do every minute of the day. So making the best decisions, the best players make the best decisions. So I think you can do that through your training. And it's okay to get things wrong. But I think that the more often than not players are making their own decisions, in the long run it'll be better for them. And I think one of the big things we've had at Essex over the last few years, which is a big cultural thing, is enjoying each other's success. You know, whether someone gets 100, a 5-4, or has a good day behind the stumps, that we stay behind, whether it's for half an hour, and just celebrate that guy's success. Because, as you know, in cricket, there's a lot of days where it doesn't go right and you can feel isolated. And I think good teams really look after, you know, individuals. So celebrating each other's success is really, really important. Of course, the environment and culture, the coaches play a big part in that. But as coaches, I think it's okay not to have all the answers. I think don't try and bluff your way through. Yes, arm yourself with as much knowledge as possible, but delegate. You know, there's a lot of good coaches out there. If you've got 2 or 3 coaches at your club and someone's, you know, really good on wicket keeping, then use them. Just because you're head coach, it doesn't mean you have to have the final say. I think be human, as well. Yes, you've got to make tough decisions, I guess, as a head coach, but you can get things wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. As long as you're giving the guys a reason why you're doing things, things don't always go to plan. So I think being human, making mistakes, the players will, I think, react to that better than ruling with an iron fist and kind of it's my way or the highway. So I think that's really important in a strong culture. And I think getting to know your players as well. You know, some players react better to reflecting on performances one-to-one. Some guys like to chat in a group. You know, some guys don't want the limelight. Some guys want to be the man all the time. So I think it's important to have an idea of what characters, what makes them tick. Get to know the families, get to know, you know, the backgrounds, because that's so important. Not just when they're not doing so well, but when they're doing well as well, because you want a constant kind of stream going through your club. And the more consistent you are as people and players, I think the more consistent performances you get. Just lastly, how it looks into training. When they get up to the pro level, obviously the professional sportsmen, they want to be the best, they're very competitive, so that has to reflect in your training. But hopefully this can resonate back to the clubs as well. I think if you're going to put on a session, it's important to, you know, let the players know why we're doing it. So for instance, I'll give you an example from last season. We looked at our 2020, we weren't hitting enough sixes. Out of the 18 teams, I think we were 8th on the list. So we really targeted, let's hit more sixes. So what do? We set up a drill. This is why we're doing it to the guys. We want to improve sixes. We know that more boundaries will win, more games often than not. So within that, you then design your session. How can we do that? How will it look? What do we need? Do we need bowlers? Do we need dog sticks? Do we need open grounds? And then at least the players know why and when we're doing them kind of sessions. And that might be hitting more stumps. It might be bowlers bowling at target. But I think always give a reason why you're doing a session. You're wanting to improve as individuals, but you're wanting to improve as a team as well. And it's okay for the players to challenge back. You're not always going to get great sessions on, but I think if everyone feels involved and you know you're working towards a goal, you're probably going to see you know, better results as well. And I think that's about it really. Obviously it's a very, very quick, as Barry said, synopsis on the environment, but hopefully that just gives you a few examples of what we're doing at professional level.
Thank you very much, Max, for doing this. Arfan, if you're looking at the chat box, just before we wrap up, is there 2 or 3 questions that you've picked up on that we could just pick up now? And
yeah, I'll go for the smaller ones for now. Are the age appropriate pitches being used in all district comps?
Yes. Again, we're working through the youth participation group, and obviously they're focusing and linking in with Jason Gallions, helping out the schools to adapt it. Like any of these sort of changes, it takes a little bit of time, but they are being reinforced again around those processes and constantly being reviewed through youth participation group around how we can help that. So yes, I can't guarantee that every game you turn up to is like that, but actually that is a philosophy and we keep reinforcing the point around using those pitches because the benefit it has to those players' development.
I don't know if Nat wants to pick this one up, but is this program the same for girls, Nat?
It's pretty similar. Barry and I chat quite a bit, and James. So we kind of try and keep things similar where possible. Probably main difference is as you get older, we have a regional academy rather than the Essex Academy, and probably less 4 and 5 day cricket prep, more for 1 day shorter format stuff. So yeah.
Thanks, Nat. I know we're running well out of time. Dan, can I just put one quick one to you, and then I'll wrap the rest up and send them to yourself, Mags, and Barry to reply back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anyone play 35 overs at under 11 level?
Does anyone play that?
Yeah.
Again, the guidelines are set out in terms of what sort of overs have been playing. I think it's all around the conversations around playing different. I'm not aware of many that play 35 overs now in terms of a specific format. But again, it's working alongside, hopefully seeing the information that's come out today around what's going to create the best environment and challenge the players the best way to reach their outcome in terms of what they're likely to play going forward, as Barry mentioned about working from the top back down in terms of what's going to create the best development for those players as they go through.
Brilliant. There's Sunil, Andrew, Sajid. Apologies, I'll put this back to the panel and we'll reply back. But we have gone quite a long way over. Very insightful. Thank you so much. Back to you, Dan, to wrap up.
Yeah, so as Arfan said, any of the other questions we'll put on them onto the sides. And again, feel free to drop us individual email to myself, Arfan or Natalie, and we'll follow up those questions if there's something specific for your own club as well. Hope you found tonight useful. Just a reminder that the next webinar will be on Monday. Just again, finally, Ollie, Chairman of Upminster, is running a weekly tutorial for clubs around how to run a race night. We've now had successful ones from a number of clubs, including Walden and Whittam are running theirs this weekend. Then next Tuesday will be a webinar on umpiring and scoring. We've got Neil Bainton, first class umpire, coming on to chat about his experience in developing going through. And then we're fortunate enough got our marketing manager and our commercial manager from the club coming on to talk, and one of our sponsors coming on to talk about how you might be able to promote and support commercial activity within your club. Obviously at this current time, any support to your own sponsors or to club promotion and activation is going to be really beneficial. So hopefully please pass this. It might not be yourself at the club, but anyone else in the club that might find that useful. And then the week after, we'll on the 19th, we have one around coach education coming through. So please make notes then. We'll promote them and send them through to you again as going forward. A big thanks again to our speakers in terms of Barry and Mags, but also to, as those clubs are in the region as well. We have got Rob from Suffolk, Ben and Sam from Cambridgeshire and Cricket East, along with Ian in Hertfordshire. So if you do have any questions now, please contact us or back through to them as well, and they'll be able to help you out at those points. But thank you very much. Thank you for all your hard work you do back at your clubs, and we'll look forward to hopefully seeing you later in the summer soon. Cheers.
Thanks all.